Hello and welcome to News Central Now. I am Dakbo Adigboye. The top stories at this hour. Blaze under control as sections of Christ Embassy Church in Lagos destroyed. The People's Democratic Party condemns call for state of emergency in Rivers State. President Ruto ready for talks with proposed tax increases protesters. Details in a moment. Let's begin by telling you that an early Sunday morning fire at the Christ Embassy Church in Ikeja, Lagos State, has reportedly been brought under control, although it destroyed property worth millions of naira. First responders are currently working to recover items that were not affected by the blaze. This incident is not the first fire to be recorded at the Nigerian headquarters of the church. Thankfully, no casualties have been reported so far. News Central's head of news, Uzonna Onoye, who is on ground at the scene, joins me now for an update. Uzonna, thank you for joining. What's new?
Yeah. Well, from the last time we spoke and now quite a lot has happened. If you look, you will see that the fire had reasonably gone down, just little smoke here and there. Men of the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency and the fire service and every other emergency responder in the state have worked so hard here to contain this inferno. We cannot ascertain what may have led to this because we were told earlier that there need to have a thorough investigation before the cause could be confirmed. And then level of damage, we cannot say still because a lot has to be calculated. If you have known this church, you will know, you will understand the heavy equipment that they use in the church. I am not sure what is left because we've not been able to gain access into the church by this time. What we know is that firefighting trucks had continued to come in, stationed, waiting for whatever that may come out, and emergency responders are all lined up here with their trucks and heavy machinery. Even the men of the Nigerian police force who were standing all over this place earlier in the day are now resting their legs under the tree there. So it appears that some form of normalcy had returned here, except for members of the church who would have begun to count their losses by this time. But I would like to bring in the boss of the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency, Mr. Osoitolu, to join us here now to give us a first-hand information on what he had seen over time today since he got here in the morning. Thank you so much for joining us on the news. And you've had the privilege of seeing what we have not seen. That is, we've not been able to go in there, but you have done that. So please tell us what you saw from in there.
Well, we have done primary survey and we have done the secondary survey. And we have put up the fire. We've localized the fire in such a way that it's not spreading to the adjoining or adjacent buildings. And all the key stakeholders that are important in managing emergency in Lagos State are on the ground. And we are all working under the watch of Mr. Governor, Mr. Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu. With this, we are able to ensure that there is no fatalities, there is no mortalities, and there is no morbidities associated with this massive fire incident. But however, there are some places that have burned beyond certain level that we need to carry out reconstruction, redevelopment, and we need to pull those places into zero level, ground zero, to ensure safety of life and to prevent secondary disaster. And you can see that we are on top of all the challenges, and we have all the machineries, we have all the personnel. Our Charlie is on the ground, our Goliath is on the ground, fire trucks are on the ground, fire personnel are on the ground, the Red Cross are on the ground, engineers are on the ground, and believe me, the good people of Lagos State should remain cool, calm, and collected. Okay. We are on top of it.
All right. The earlier information we got when we arrived here was that there was no casualty because they said that the church hasn't started, the service hasn't started for the day. But I would like you to confirm you've moved around, you have the Red Cross with you, as you said. Can you confirm that there wasn't any casualty or any health emergency that occurred here?
I can confirm that there is no casualties and there is no mortalities. However, we still have our ambulance team on the ground that handles pre-hospital care in the state. We have medical doctors on the ground. We have nurses on the ground. And you know, the operation is still ongoing. The place is still live.
Okay, in most places in Lagos State, once there is a heavy fire incident of this nature, the entire building is brought down. We've seen that in several places. Once the fire, a major fire incident of this nature is brought down to ground zero. That's the term you usually use. Are we expecting to see that affected here, to bring the entire building down to ground zero?
Well, the most important thing, why we are saying ground zero is the most stable place. So the most important thing is that it is not all fire incidents that we normally bring down the buildings to ground zero. What we always do and what is always on our mind is to ensure safety of life and properties. And we will do everything that is humanly possible to do that. If need be, we bring some building to ground zero to ensure safety. We will carry out reconstruction, redevelopment, so that our good people of Lagos State will enjoy safety of life and properties. Their life is more important to us.
Okay. All right, you've heard it. He's confirmed authoritatively that there was no casualty here. Nobody died, no injury sustained. Whatever that will be lost will be material things, which we cannot confirm at this time until further investigation is carried out and the proper assessment, impact assessment is conducted here. Dabo.
All right, thank you so much for the update, Uzana, and please stay safe. Now, away from that, a chairman, Board of Trustees of the People's Democratic Party, Adolphus Wabara, has said that the party would not accept any declaration of state of emergency in Rivers State. The BOT chairman, who expressed worry over the ongoing political development in the oil-rich region, advised President Bola Ahmed Tinubu not to allow self-seeking anti-democratic forces stuck in the embers of war in Rivers State push him into taking any step that could plunge the state into chaos. He warned that any action to undermine democracy or tamper with democratically elected government of Sim Fubara could spell doom for the entire nation. The former Senate president said he was yet to see the constitutionality of council chairmen whose tenure had elapsed, attempting to perpetuate themselves in office against the laws of the land. Earlier, we were joined by member caretaker committee Port Harcourt City Local Government Area Tekena Bosi, who shared his thoughts.
Straightforward. For it is so disappointing and disheartening for a person in the likes of the caretaker chairman of the APC, Chief Tony Okocha, to at this point in time call for a state of emergency in Rivers State. We all know the state is very peaceful and calm. We wake up every day with news of hundreds of deaths in the northern part of Nigeria. And there has not been any day that a state of emergency has been proclaimed or called upon in any of those areas. You know, rather than look for a way to resolve conflicts, you are saying that they should call for a state of emergency where there is no problem. River State is peaceful. Everybody is going along with their normal daily businesses. So how can an APC chairman say they should call for a state of emergency in River State?
A federal high court in Lagos has ordered the permanent forfeiture of properties valued at over 11.14 billion naira and another 1.04 billion naira linked to the former CBN governor, talking about Godwin Emefiele. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission had filed an application for the forfeiture, alleging that the properties were purchased with proceeds of fraud. The court had earlier granted a temporary forfeiture order on June 5th and has now made the forfeiture permanent. The FCC has also named 2 current and 1 former CBN staff as Emefiele's accomplices in the alleged fraud. Justice Chukwu Jeku Aneke delivered the judgment, bringing a conclusion to the case. Joining me on the news right now to share his thoughts on this is a legal practitioner, Elvis Asia. Thank you for your time. Now, let's get straight to it. Godwin Emefiele is suspected to, have bought properties by proxy with proceeds of fraud. Now, what legal evidences did the prosecutors present for this to be admissible in court?
Well, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission Act gives the Commission the power to carry out investigation, and in the course of doing that, to trace assets that are linked to the crime that is allegedly committed. And when those assets are traced, the law also allows the Commission to apply to the court for forfeiture. First, on an interim basis, which means that the other party is not aware. They approach the court and the court makes the order. In this particular instance, it was made, I think, last week or thereabout. But, a date was now fixed for the hearing of the substantive motion for forfeiture, which is the final order that will be made. But nobody showed up. And so the court made it final. The kind of evidence that's required, essentially, is you must establish that a crime has been committed and that the assets in question are linked to the commission of that crime. That is, the assets in question are proceeds of that crime. So if once that is established and the court is satisfied with the evidence that is put forward by the commission, then the orders will be made. But I must assure you that you must put in substantial evidence before the court, which will clearly identify the crime committed, which will clearly identify the assets or and the proceeds of that crime. And so once that is done, the court will then be able to make the order.
All right. Now, the properties were initially temporarily forfeited to the federal government. However, the court ordered the permanent forfeiture of same. My question to you is this: can you take us through how exactly this works?
Well, the way it works, like I earlier explained, is that upon in the course of an investigation into allegations of crime, the commission would, of course, look out for evidence, trace properties and assets of the alleged crime, and those assets are then frozen. An application is made to the court, ex parte, that is the persons who are allegedly owners of the property are not aware. So the court makes the order in the first place on the interim, that is more like a temporary order that is given. And then the persons who are alleged to own that properties have the opportunity to approach the court to say that, look, this order you have made is not proper. These assets were legitimately acquired. So once they can satisfy the court of that, then the process, the court will then lift the order. But in this particular instance, nobody came forward to claim those properties, and so it was made final. Now, once that happens, the property then, becomes vested on the federal government, and the investigation obviously will continue. And so that's what has happened in this case. The court derives its powers to do this under various laws. In this particular instance, under the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission Act, I think section 26 to 29 of the Act, which empowers the court to do this. And the idea is that you don't want people to benefit from alleged crimes. Because, if somebody has, let me just give you an instance, somebody has stolen 50 billion, for example, he wouldn't mind going to jail for some years and still come back to the property, or his family will be enjoying the benefits of the assets. But with this process, that is taken away in order to discourage the commission of such crimes.
Now, would you say to some extent the judiciary has been fair to Godwin Emefiele and, of course, the entire case generally?
Well, I mean, for you to do a proper assessment, you have to have all the documentations, all the processes filed in court so far and all of that. But based on what is reported in the media, it would seem that you can't really blame the judiciary. somebody can be alleged to have committed various offenses and charges can be brought. And so even if you are granted bail in one charge, for example, the security agencies can still hold on to you for the purpose of arraigning you for another charge. I think that's what was happening with the Emefiele bail and all of that. So in that regard, one cannot really blame the judiciary. Another thing you also have to appreciate the fact that is the fact that this is a very high. The stakes are quite high. You and I know how the economy of this country was run aground by CBN policies, allegedly, due to the actions of Emefiele. So that would have also counted in the way and manner the processes are placed before the court and how the court will decide. So you can't really blame the judiciary for this. You perhaps might feel that the EFCC has not been fair in the way and manner the case has been handled, particularly with respect to bail. But like I said, you could be charged with more than one offense for different instances, and that may make the agency to have the power to, bring you before another court. And in that process, whatever bail you got before may have been forfeited. So that is only in that regard that I would say that there has been some unfairness, but you can't really attribute that to the judiciary. That, I believe, it's as a result of EFCC, maybe the pressure on them from the presidency and other external forces, but not the judiciary has been doing its job. The process of asset forfeiture is very clear. If those who allegedly owe those assets, if they had legitimate basis for owing them, they could have come forward, but nobody came. And so I want to believe that the judiciary has been fair.
All right. Thank you so much for your insight on the news, Elvis.
Thank you.
All right. The Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria has threatened to shut down all petrol stations in Adamawa and Taraba states over alleged harassment of its members by the Nigerian Customs Service. The secretary of the association in Adamawa State made this known to newsmen, accusing the Customs Anti-Smuggling Unit, that's codenamed Operation Whirlwind, of abandoning their duties at the border areas and targeting legitimate businesses. It says that several of their trucks carrying petroleum products have been illegally seized by men of the Nigerian Customs Service, which is leading to financial losses for members and artificial scarcity of the product.
When product is deregulated, it simply means the product are free market without any government interference. On this regards, we are calling on the attention of His Excellency, Governor Ahmed Umar, the People Governor, being the Chief Security Officer of the state, to step in as the matter of agency and of public interest to do the needful by calling the men of the Nigerian Customs Service to order, so as to quench the escalation that may probably lead to industrial actions by all the stakeholders of petroleum product, which are IMAN, NATO, and all branches of NIPEN, which include PTD, IND, PSW, ELD, and SUTACAT, etc., and all other in the business of supplying and distribution of petroleum product in the state. Lastly, as from Monday, the 25th of June 2024, if our prayers were not answered or addressed, we will not hesitate to unanimously withdraw our services of supplies and distribution of petroleum in the entire states of Adam.
The combined operatives of the Nigerian Embassy and a Senegalese-based non-governmental organization have rescued 24 Nigerian girls who were subjected to sexual exploitation in the Tamakonda and Kandouagu regions of Senegal. According to the acting ambassador of the Nigerian Embassy in Dakar, Senegal, the girls, mostly underaged, ranging between the ages of 11, 13, and 24, have been trafficked to Senegal through Cotonou, Republic of Benin, via the Mali to Senegal border for sexual exploitation in these regions. Abubakar said preliminary investigations reveal that most of the girls who were school dropouts were from Edo and Delta states, adding that a few of them were from Imo and Abia, while 2 others were from Plateau. Let's go on a quick break. When we return, we have more stories. Stay with us. Let's move to security matters now, where suspected bandits have kidnapped the parish priest of St. Raymond Catholic Church, Damba, Gusau, Zamfara State. The Reverend Father Mecca Suleiman, as the spokesperson of the Zamfara State Police Command, Yasid Abubakar, said the priest was kidnapped around on Saturday at his residence in the Damba area of Gusau. He noted that the incident was not reported to the police, but the command has deployed a police tactical squad to the trail of the kidnappers and to ensure the safe return of the kidnapped priest. The acting chancellor of the Catholic Diocese of Sokoto, Very Reverend Father Nuhu Elia, in a statement called on the Christian faithful to pray for the quick and safe release of the cleric. After 2 months of total blackout due to a broken down transformer and then subsequent purchasing of a new one for about 22 million naira for their community, residents of Akonapa 1 in the Kado local government area of Nasarawa State have accused the Abuja Electricity Distribution Company of insensitivity and refusing to commit to refunding their money. News Central has been following up on this story and was finally able to speak with some officials of the company, who, though refused to speak on camera, accused the community of not exercising enough patience. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu has more.
This is Akonapa 1, a community in Kado local government area of Nasarawa State. This community have suffered 2 months of total blackout due to the damage of their transformer. Now the community mobilized themselves and raised 22 million naira to install a new transformer, but the AEDC, that's the Abuja Electricity Distribution Company, have not given them any waiver, and so it's a problem in the community and they are not finding it funny at all. Residents of Akonapa 1 community expressed their grievances. The community say their grievances are threefold and also say that a committee was appointed to interface with the private company.
We'll be writing letters to AEDC. Unfortunately, there is no paper reply. Rather, they make a call and tell us we should go and meet the area manager. Area manager is going to attend to us. And many a time we'll go there, there will not be something substantial. You know what you are expecting when you lay a complaint, expecting a better result. All to no avail. The last letter we wrote was to make a demand that we as a community, we are buying a transformer and we want them to give us a soft landing when it comes to billing system. They told us outrightly that whatever we are doing, we are on our own. If we spend whatever money we spend, we are on our own and we have to pay for it. That it does not affect their collection of billing. Then they went further to tell us that if the old one is bad, that we should give them time to fix it. We're giving them time. They said they are coming. I think at about a few days ago, they came to pick it up. We paid for the transportation to still take it to their office. Up to now, we've not gotten a reply from them. If they fixed it, when they are bringing it, we don't know.
They also say there is evidence that their complaints were forwarded to the company, revealing copies of the document still in their possession.
This is a copy. Yet we copy the area manager at the office. This is the area manager's.
This is the manual of the transformer. Mesank. This is it. The factory test for the transformer.
However, after several attempts to reach the Abuja Electricity Distribution Company, a staff who refused to speak on camera tried to absolve the company from blame.
There will not be any waiver. We only agree on waiver before installation. After installation, there is no any waiver. I spoke to the area manager. He said there was nothing, there was no any agreement or any request from them requesting for a waiver. And just like I told you yesterday, there's a regulation. They call it network investment by something third party. I'll look for it and share it with you. Do you understand? The regulation says that before you go ahead, if you want a compensation, before you go ahead and invest in a disco's network, you have to write. The disco have to be invited. They have to write to NET. They will now invite the disco. They will now go and assess the investment you want to do in terms of what is required
and convert it to Naira and Kobo value. So now, if it is that the disco will now come up and say, okay, after installation, I'm going to give you free light for 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months, or I'm going to give the whole community meter, or I'm going to reduce your tariff, as the case may be. There was nothing as such between this, what they call AEDC and this community.
Some members of the community think the AEDC's response is irresponsible.
AEDC now will bring people for us to pay. So what are their own responsibility? Because it's a business they are doing. Everybody has the basic of what you use to do business.
It has disturbed us in so many ways. It has made us to be uncomfortable in our homes. You cannot charge your phone. You can't iron your clothes. You can't store food in your fridge. So many things has been affected.
It's not an easy thing for those of us, especially married women.
It's a difficult one, my brother. It's a difficult one. It has not been easy. We have to put our efforts together as a community to make sure this light is restored.
Children will be crying with his rashes and all whatnot. The challenges have been much.
It was the community that contributed money to buy the transformer. That was the one that spoiled previously. So we are really aggrieved because we feel any other person coming here cannot just come and take the glory of providing transformer, whereas they were not the ones that brought it, especially AEDC.
We have heard them all. It is now left for parties concerned to do the needful. In Nasarawa State, for News Central, I'm Emmanuel Bagudu.
Following allegations of exposure of sensitive data of citizens, the National Identity Management Commission has assured the public that the data of Nigerians has not been compromised. NIMC gave the assurance in a statement signed by its head of corporate communications, Kayode Adegoke, on Saturday. Paradigm Initiative, a Pan-African social enterprise, had on Thursday raised an alarm over its discovery of the sale of national identification numbers, bank verification numbers, and other personal data of Nigerians on a website for as low as 100 naira. The organization had claimed that a website known as anyverify.com.ng was found to be involved in the commercial distribution of personal and private data of Nigerians. Reacting to the report, the agency said that it has not authorized any website or entity to sell or misuse the national identification number amongst all the identities. An education expert has urgently called for a transformative overhaul of Nigeria's education system. In a recent discussion, Yetunde Kamson highlighted both the current strengths and significant areas needing improvement within the sector. Kamson pointed to successful education reforms in countries like Finland and South Korea, emphasizing their innovative teaching techniques, robust teacher training programs, and equitable resource distribution. These measures, she noted, have led to substantial improvements in educational outcomes and could serve as models for Nigeria's education reform. Coming up on the news, Egypt cracks down on tourism companies after death of 530 pilgrims in Mecca. We have details of this and more after now. The news continues in North Africa, where the Egyptian authorities have launched action against several tourism companies after the death of at least 530 of its citizens during this year's Hajj pilgrimage to Mecca. Egypt withdrew the operating licenses of 16 tourism companies and referred them to a public prosecutor, accusing them of being responsible for the deaths of Egyptian pilgrims in Mecca. Medical and security sources say at least 530 Egyptians died during this year's Hajj pilgrimage to Mecca, while the statement from the unit formed on Thursday and headed by Prime Minister Mustafa Modbole said 31 deaths were confirmed as a result of chronic illness. Kenya's President William Ruto said he is ready for a conversation with thousands of young protesters who held nationwide demonstrations this week to oppose proposed tax increases. Led largely by Gen Z Kenyans who have live-streamed the demonstrations, the protest caught the government off guard as discontent mounts over Ruto's economic policies. According to rights campaigners, 2 persons have died and dozens of others were injured on Thursday's demonstration in the capital, Nairobi. The demonstrations were mostly peaceful, but officers fired tear gas and water cannon throughout the day in an attempt to disperse the protesters. Ruto's administration has defended the proposed levies as necessary for filing its coffers and cutting reliance on external borrowing.
Very proud of our young people. They have stepped forward tribeless. They have stepped forward peaceful. And I want to tell them we are going to engage them. We are going to have a conversation so that together we can build a greater nation.
Thousands protest in Tel Aviv against the Netanyahu coalition and for a deal that would release the hostages held in Gaza since October 7th. Large protests have occurred in the Israeli city on a weekly basis over Netanyahu's handling of the nearly 9-month-old war in Gaza. Many protesters held signs reading "Crime Minister" and "Stop the War" as persons poured into the biggest Israeli city's main thoroughfare. Many are frustrated with the country's right-wing coalition, which includes Security Minister and other far-right ultra-nationalists, accusing it of prolonging the war in Gaza and putting the country's security and hostages at risk.
נזכרת שיש ציבור גדול שנאבק יחד איתי ומחזק אותי. אתם הקול שלי. ואני רוצה לקרוא מפה לשאר החטופים שחסרו. הצטרפו עלינו לרחובות. בואו נפגין איתנו.
Right now, what is most urgent to us is to bring back the hostages and end the war. And change the government, which is why we went to the streets a year and a half ago. And this is the only way we can reach the other targets, because with this government, nothing will change.
Staying with Israel, the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has held a cabinet meeting and discussed the U.S. arms delay role. Netanyahu's comment comes as Defense Minister Yoav Gallant travels to Washington for talks about the war in Gaza. He said top Israeli officials lobbied their U.S. counterparts for speedier weapons deliveries. The Prime Minister irked Washington with a video statement earlier this week accusing it of withholding weapons and ammunition to Israel. U.S. officials have said they were not aware of what Netanyahu was referring to.
לפני כ4 חודשים חלה ירידה דרמטית באספקת החימושים שהגיעו מארצות הברית לישראל. במשך שבועות ארוכים פנינו לידידינו האמריקנים בבקשה להאיץ את המשלוחים. קיבלנו כל מיני הסברים, אבל דבר אחד לא קיבלנו. המצב הבסיסי לא השתנה. לאחר חודשים של היעדר שינוי במצב זה, החלטתי לתת לכך ביטוי פומבי.
Lebanon's Hezbollah militant group said Sunday it would target a military position in northern Israel with an armed drone in response to the killing of an Islamist commander. Israel and the powerful Iran-backed group, Hamas ally, have exchanged near-daily cross-border fire since the Gaza war erupted on October 7th. Hezbollah's announcement comes hours after it published a video excerpt purporting to show locations in Israel along with their coordinates amidst heightened fears of an all-out conflict between the two foes. Meanwhile, Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said they prepared for any action that may be required in Gaza and Lebanon ahead of a trip to the U.S. for meetings with his counterpart Lloyd Austin.
הלילה לארצות הברית בהזמנתו של מזכיר ההגנה לויד אוסטין. ארצות הברית היא בעלת הברית החשובה ביותר שלנו, המרכזית ביותר שלנו, והקשרים בינינו חשובים וחשובים במיוחד, אולי יותר מאשר אי פעם, בימים האלה. בפגישות האלה אדון על הקורה בחזית עזה, בחזית לבנון, ויש להן חשיבות מכרעת בעת הזאת. אנחנו ערוכים לכל פעולה שתידרש, גם בעזה, גם בלבנון וגם במקומות נוספים. למעבר לשלב ג' ברצועת עזה יש חשיבות גבוהה. אני אדון עם בכירי הממשל האמריקאי על המעבר הזה, על האופן שבו הוא יכול לאפשר גם דברים נוספים, ואני יודע שאנחנו נגיע לשיתוף פעולה הדוק.
President Ferdinand Marcos on Sunday said the Philippines will not be intimidated by anyone after a violent clash between the Filipino Navy and the Chinese Coast Guard in the South China Sea. The confrontation took place on Monday, off 2nd Thomas Shoal, as the Chinese sailors foiled an attempt by Philippine forces to resupply marine stations on the derelict warship that was deliberately grounded atop the disrupted shoal in 1999 to assert Melina's territorial claims. It was the latest and most serious incident in a series of escalating confrontations between Chinese and Philippine ships in recent months as Beijing steps up efforts to push its claims to nearly all of the strategically located waterway.
Ay hindi tayo magpapasupil at magpapaapi kahit na kanino man. I salute the 80 officers and troops who sailed the waters and exercised the greatest restraint amidst intense.
Let's go on a quick break. When we return, we have more stories. Stay with us. The repeated slump in Nigeria's monthly oil outputs since January 2024 has resulted in a revenue loss of about 636.3 billion naira, according to data. Oil production data obtained from a federal government agency indicated that Nigeria produced 1.43 million barrels of crude oil, excluding condensates, in January this year, but this nosedived to 1.25 million barrels per day in May. Now, figures obtained from the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission show that while the total volume of crude produced in January was 44.22, that's 22 million barrels, it dropped to 38.8 million barrels in May. This represents a crude oil production plunge of 5.43 million barrels between January and May this year. Zambia plans to supplement its 2024 spending plan by 41.9 billion kwacha, that's about $1.6 billion, to deal with a severe drought and to start servicing its now restructured external loans. The finance minister told lawmakers in Lusaka, the capital, that the stance and resolve of this government is that no Zambian should die of hunger. He said the dry spell this year has arguably been the worst in nearly 60 years of the country's existence. The harvest of the staple corn fell by 54% to a 16-year low, while hydropower, that accounts for about 85% of Zambia's electricity supplies, has plunged, leading to rolling blackouts lasting for at least 12 hours daily. Let's wrap it up with some sporting details, where President of the Nigeria Football Federation, Ibrahim Gusau, will present the Nigeria Premier Football League Winners' Trophy to Champions Rangers International FC of Enugu at the new Zaria Road Stadium in Jos on Sunday. The head of the NFF is expected to be the main guest at the event. The champions will secure their 8th Nigeria title by defeating Bendel Insurance 2-0 at the Nnamdi Azikiwe Stadium last weekend. Will be playing against relegated Gombe United FC in a match that evokes contrasting emotions. The much-loved Savannah Scorpions are already contemplating life in the Nigerian National League, while the Flying Antelopes, 1977 Africa Cup winners, Champions Cup, countenance flying Nigeria's flag in the prestigious CAF Champions League competition for the first time in many years. At the ongoing Africa Athletics Championship, Nigerian athletes such as Shade Olayoye won silver in the women's hammer throw, producing a best effort of 67.72 meters. In men's shot put event, Chukwuebuka won gold, while Team Nigeria's quartet of Emmanuel Ojeli, Ella Omojove, Dubem Nwachukwu and Patience Okon-George won silver in the mixed 4x400 event with a time of 3 minutes and 13 seconds. This feat was achieved despite allegations of poor planning and treatment of the athletes by the organizers that saw stars like Côte d'Ivoire to Lau Smith pull out of the tournament. Team Nigeria's women bench volleyball team has continued to impress at the ongoing qualifiers in Morocco, advancing to the final on Sunday. After winning a bronze medal in the last African Games in Accra, Ghana, the team started their qualifiers strong, winning crucial matches. They defeated Rwanda 2-0 on Saturday to reach the semi-finals. On Sunday, they delivered a dominant 2-0 win against Cape Verde. Now, this victory secured their place in the final, while they will face Egypt to compete for the sole ticket allocated to Africa. Staying in the world of sports, seven-time Olympic champion Katie Ledecky aims to join Michael Phelps by winning a 4th straight gold medal in the same event at the Paris Olympics. Now, she, who won her first 800-meter freestyle gold at 15 during London 2012, has since secured gold in Rio and Tokyo among her 10 Olympic medals. At the U.S. Olympic swim trials in Indianapolis, she became the first woman to win 4 titles at single trial with a remarkable 800-meter freestyle win. In Paris, she will compete at the 400-meter, 800-meter, and 1,500-meter freestyle events, and the 4x200-meter relay. Caleb Dressel and Kate Douglas has secured their spots in Paris, excelling in their respective events at the trials. And that's a wrap on the news at this time. But before we go, another look at some of our top stories. I told you that blaze under control as sections of Christ Embassy Church in Lagos destroyed. The People's Democratic Party condemns call for state of emergency in Rivers State. And we also told you that Kenya's President William Ruto is ready for talks with proposed tax increase protesters. Now, don't forget to send in your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. You can also follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch us live across these platforms: DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Abo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Dakpo at Digboy. Bye for now.